All right, everybody, welcome back to Horn Takes, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I am Sean Redfern. It is Monday, and it's a special Monday. It's a Veterans Day today. For those of you that do not know, I am a veteran. I have a lot of friends that are veterans. I have a lot of family members that are veterans. So shout out to all the veterans today. Thank you for all you guys have done to keep us safe over the years. A lot of people fighting all the time, arguing about stuff all the time. It's important to have some positivity. Veterans Day, man. Go get y'all's free meals and thank yous, and hopefully, hopefully, people won't make you work too hard today on Veterans Day. Obviously, we have no drunk Sean thoughts this week. Man, I get back on Sunday after a long drive, and I just can't do it, man. I just absolutely can't do it. But we'll be back the rest of the regular season. We are not. That was our last game until possibly SEC championship, possibly playoff. We'll see how all that stuff goes. But we will not be at Arkansas. We will not be back down in Austin for the Kentucky game, and we will not be down at College Station for the Aggie game. So we're going to spend the rest of the regular season on the patio, resting up because we're old. Man, we had an absolute blast in Austin over the weekend. Uh, Started off right, like we like to do. Everybody probably doesn't like this place, and that's okay. We went to Vince Young Steakhouse. I love that place. If you have never been there, and you do go there, man, check out that bacon mac and cheese. It goes really hard. The steaks, to me, really good. I've been to high end steakhouses. To me, it's better, just as good, if not better, than most of them. Really, than all of them. Good wine list, good bourbon list, and the last two times we've been in there, we've seen Vince Young. We've been in there, man. We've been in there probably, man. I can't even imagine how many times. I mean, it's been at least it's between 15 and 20 times we've been to Vince Young Steakhouse, I would think. Somewhere around roughly that. And we've never seen VY. We've seen Sark before on recruiting visits. We used to go down to Fredericksburg a lot at the beginning of December, like the last week after the season was over for my wife's birthday. And then we'd always trek on over to Austin, have a night in Austin as well, and we'd usually go eat dinner there. So we've seen Sark on the recruiting visits there. Seen a lot of the staff there, obviously. But no Vince Young. We saw Vince Young the last time we were there. Got to meet him, got to meet Jamal Charles. And then Friday night, Vince comes in and he just walks around, starts talking to everybody at the table. So we had a nice little chat with Vince Young. That was cool. Asked him about his son. His son's doing well. Family's doing well. So it's always good to see a Longhorn great Vince Young and then get to talk to him a little bit. That's always great too. Hung out with some friends on Saturday at the tailgate before the game, after the game, during the game. We've got our little friends, our little season ticket holder group right there. Always a good time. Crazy this time, man. I had a lot of people recognize me from the show. I'm not famous anywhere else but this show. And I joke, I'm not even famous for that. But yeah, man, as soon as we came out of the parking garage, someone comes by in their truck with the window down, says Horn Takes Podcast rules, or so I don't remember exactly what they said. We just met a lot of people, man, that recognized who we were. So that was cool. Always enjoy that. That's like surreal to me. I mean, I could not imagine being actually famous. Like, so there was like 120,000 people there, right? And let's say 4 or 5 people recognized me. I couldn't imagine being the type of person where when you went to a place with 120,000 people, every single one of them knew who you were. That would just be crazy. So anyway, we had an absolutely great weekend, but we were way too tired to come home yesterday and try to do any drunk Sean thoughts. So I apologize. Well, one guy, I forgot his name, and I'm terrible with names, so don't take offense. Met him, his buddy, one of their lady friends. I don't know if it was a girlfriend or just a friend or maybe a sister. I'm not 100% sure. Talked to them for a few minutes in the beer line. He was asking about drunk Sean thoughts if I was going to do it. And I told him I would, man. So I lied. I 100% lied. Not doing it. Sorry. Next week, drunk Sean thoughts on Sunday. Today we're going to do Trace Otra games recap for week 11, see how we did there. And then we'll have the after action review for this Florida Gator game. Check us out Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. You can listen to the podcast at Apple Podcast, iHeart Podcast, Spotify Podcasts. If you cannot find them anywhere else, you can find them at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. And I know the few people that are listening to me are actually listening to me because this guy rattled off the Buzzsprout link to me. That's why I got to be repetitive on that. Trace Otra games. This one was a good one this week. Week 11, we're 26-4 coming in on the season. And I'll reiterate this, not to toot my own horn. We pick good games. Like, we don't pick any gimmies. I don't think. So this week we started off with number 2 Georgia, at number 16 Ole Miss. Man, for me it was a lot of keys. The main key in this one was, can Ole Miss play a clean game? They are the 132nd ranked team in penalty yards. They are terrible. They give up. I mean, they had almost 800 yards of offense in 2020, or excuse me, not offense, penalties. 800 yards of penalties in 2024. Talked about that Georgia running game against Ole Miss's stout run D. And then can Ole Miss protect Jackson Dart? They've given up 19 sacks this year. Thought it'd be a low-scoring game. Thought the offenses would struggle. I said I like that Ole Miss defense, man. I like them to make Georgia one-dimensional. I like Jackson Dart to make some plays late with his legs, kind of like some off-key plays. I have no idea if that happened. But they did make Georgia one-dimensional, and it was a pretty low-scoring game. I had Ole Miss 20-17 over Georgia. They win 28-10 over Georgia. So we're 1-0 after one. That's always good. Number 21, Colorado at Texas Tech. We talked about how this one was kind of like a de facto playoff game in the Big 12. Talked about how Texas can throw the ball all over the place. They can run the ball pretty well. Colorado can't stop the run. Texas Tech can't stop the pass, and Colorado can throw it outstanding, cannot run the ball. So there was all these little weird scenarios where we thought, which one of these things is going to break? One of the questions we had is, will Texas Tech stick with the run? Because their OC likes to abandon it sometimes. And then we were kind of like, can Tech get some pressure on Shadur Sanders? Because that's how a lot of teams have messed up Colorado. And Tech not very good this year at getting to the quarterback. Talked about playing in this game in Lubbock, man, it just being a wild place. If it was a night game, I think Texas Tech wins it easy. Just always weird shit happens in Lubbock, Texas at night, especially these late season games. I had Texas Tech with the upset, 30-27. Colorado ends up winning at 41-27 after trailing early. I get a chance to watch most of this game. In fact, I don't think I got to watch any of this game until really late when Colorado sort of blew it open. I'm still not 100% sure what happened. We were sitting at dinner with some friends. And so I'm not 1,000% sure what exactly went down, but I think at one point Tech had a 13-0 lead. And I went and looked at some of the stats, and it doesn't look like they ran the ball all that much. So I wonder if Kitley pulled a Kitley, just kind of outthought himself. Because it looked like, I went and looked at all the stats, and it looked like Tech in almost every single category was better than Colorado. It was one of those weird games. It was like the Kansas State at BYU game earlier this year, where Kansas State really beat them in every category. They lost the game. It was almost the same deal. There were a few turnovers. I think that got Tech. So I don't know. Colorado, man, you got to give them credit. They're right there in the hunt, man. I think it'll be interesting to see what goes down with Colorado the rest of the season. think they're going to have a chance to play for the Big 12 championship. So we're 1-1, headed into the finale. Number 11 Bama at number 14 LSU. Here's our keys for this game. Jalen Milroe. Can Bama get pressure on Nussmeier? And can LSU do anything with the running game to keep Bama honest? I said if this game wasn't in Death Valley, I wouldn't give LSU a chance. And man, I sure did hear a whole hell of a lot about Death Valley last week from a whole lot of people talking about Death Valley. There ain't no way Alabama can take this team into LSU, into Death Valley, and walk out with a win. I said I thought it was going to be a close game, but I had that Bama defense making a play late. Turns out that Bama defense made a play the entire fucking game. Alabama just absolutely ran the ball down LSU's throat. That's a liability for LSU. They cannot stop the run. That's how A&M came back and beat them. Alabama did it to them in Death Valley. We had Bama 27-24. They win this game 42-13 over LSU. Year 3 with Brian Kelly, man. I don't know. If I'm a diehard LSU fan, I don't know how I'm feeling about Brian Kelly in year 3. 3 losses already. Just haven't. Yeah, I mean, they got a Heisman last year. They sent some guys to the NFL, some wide receivers. I don't know, man. The problem now for Louisiana, for LSU, is now you got Texas and A&M on your left. You got Alabama and Mississippi, Ole Miss on your right. You got Tennessee on your northeast. They're surrounded by a lot of places that people want to go. And I think if they don't do something quick, man, and start turning that around, you're going to see a lot of guys out of the Louisiana state of Louisiana, the boot, they say, headed to other schools. We are 28-5 headed into week 12 on Trace Otra Games. We'll be back with our picks on Thursday for that. But today, we're going to do the after action review on this Texas and Florida game. We had 4 keys coming into this game. We said you got to protect Quinn Ewers, and we weren't just talking about pass pro. We were talking about play calling. We said they got to be sound defensively. If you saw our show where we started doing some tape checking, which we'll do that again here in a little bit on the game from Saturday. We started checking tape a little bit on that Florida offense, that Florida defense. Man, offensively, there are a lot of shifts, a lot of motions, a lot of stuff to try to confuse you. So we said lining up for this Texas defense, half the battle. We said they need to protect the football because the last few weeks have been a shit show with turning the ball over for Texas. And finally, we said you need to play some bully ball. Like, it's time to go out there and whip somebody's ass with that big offensive line. That defensive line, we want them to play bully ball as well, but they have been. I feel like the defensive line has pretty consistently outplayed opposing offensive lines. But it was time for that O-line to sort of step up and kind of get back to that group that people were talking about at the beginning of the season. And man, this might be the best offensive line. I mean, these dudes won like SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week like 4 of the first 5 weeks or something. Had 3 different guys win it, I think. And then in the last few weeks, man, we just haven't seen it. We started our prediction and we went on and on about a lot of Texas fans thinking this was going to be a blowout, and we just couldn't figure out why. And I think we had good reasons. I had good reasons why I couldn't figure out why any Texas fan would think this was going to be a blowout. I thought the offense would start slow. I thought the defense would be good. And I thought the offense would kind of wake up in the second half, start scoring some points. win something like 27-10. I had 27-10. Obviously, the offense didn't start out that slow. I think it was 35-0 at halftime. Uh, yeah. So Sean was wrong on that for sure. And I'm okay with that. I'd rather say I think we're going to start slow, have some penalties, maybe have some turnovers, kind of do what we've been doing the last 2 weeks offensively, and just come out lights out and drop 35 on somebody than to do the opposite. Maybe that's forbidden joy. I don't know. Foreboding joy. I don't even know how that saying goes. Maybe I'm trying to jinx it, reverse jinx it. I don't know. Digging into the stats a little bit on this game, Texas had 562 total yards of offense. Really good day offensively, which was well above Georgia's average given up. Florida had 329, which is pretty good amount. Less than Florida usually gets offensively, but certainly more than Texas usually gives up per game. Texas with 352 passing yards, Florida with only 132 passing yards. So another big day by that Texas pass defense. Texas was 22 of 33 throwing the ball, 67%. Florida was 12 of 25, 48%. So they just could not get anything done. Texas throws 5 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. Florida, 0 interceptions. 2 interceptions, 0 touchdown passes. Rushing yards, Texas had 210 yards on the ground. Florida had 197 though. They had 2 backs that almost got 100 yards. So that was not good. That's probably, if you got to be pissed about something in this game, that's probably the number one thing I didn't like to see, because I think you're going to see Arkansas run the ball. I know you're going to see Texas A&M run the ball, and you're probably going to see Kentucky run the ball. I think the final 3 opponents for Texas are not big time passing teams. They're going to lean on that ground game, and they do it pretty well because that's pretty much all they can do. Arkansas, probably a little more balanced than Kentucky and A&M, or at least what I think Kentucky and A&M are. But I still think they're going to try to run the ball. So you hate to see your defense, who's been doing really well this year. We've been talking about it all season. I think coming into this game, averaging just a tick over 100 yards, giving up on the ground. You hate to see them give up almost 200. And it's not like Florida ran the ball 76 times or something. Those 2 backs had 38 carries, which is quite a bit, but I don't know what their combined average was, but one of them had like 6.8 yards per carry, and the other one had 4.8 yards per carry, which begs the question, what the hell was the Florida offensive coordinator doing? I counted it up. 18 of the 38 rushes were in the first half. So down 35-0, they come out in the second half and they run the ball 2 more times than they did in the first half. Again, those rushing yards, man, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of how all that went down. Texas as a whole had 6.8 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble. Florida, 4.8 yards per carry, which is that's pretty good. 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble. Texas was 45% on third downs, Florida 43%, which is red flag. Better than they usually do, better than we usually give up. Texas 50% in the red zone. 2 touchdowns, 0 field goals. Florida's 75% in the red zone, which they had 2 touchdowns and a field goal. That's not good if you're Texas. Actually, it's not bad. Penalties, Texas had 7 for 70 yards. Florida 4 for 35 yards. I have not paid attention to this too much, but I think I might go back at some point and look at this. I do not think there's been a game this year in SEC play where opponent has had more penalties than Texas. So still a sloppy team. I mean, you look at this game statistically, Texas absolutely dominated this game. Probably their best performance, man, since the Oklahoma game. Just a just a thorough ass kicking. Players that popped to me, I thought Big Alfred Collins was a guy, man. He didn't have a big stat line. He only had 2 tackles, but he had a tip pass that led to an interception. He was really active, just made good plays. We'll show a little, I almost said film. We'll show a little tape on Big Alfred Collins in a little bit, just to kind of reiterate how well he played. Another guy, Trey Moore, 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, fumble recovery, had a really nice play early in the game. We'll show that, talk about that. Offensively, Quinn Ewers, 19 to 27, 70% passing, 333 yards and 5 touchdowns. Could have had a lot more. There were some drops, were some misses. Quinn Ewers had the kid in front of me at the game just crazy frustrated. And you know what? It made me realize that's how I act. I basically act like a 12-year-old kid when everything isn't perfect. It was pretty funny, man, because at that time when he was saying all this stuff, I was like, he's right. He's missing these passes. I'm like, this kid is right. He's the smartest kid in the whole stadium. It was pretty funny. We had a good time with those kids. About 3 of them by themselves, I think, but they were very well behaved. Maybe Dad was sitting down a little bit. Quinn Ewers ends up with a hell of a game. I mean, if that dude stays in the game, he's probably over 500. Probably has 7 touchdowns. I mean, it pretty pretty damn good performance by Quinn Ewers on Saturday. Nice to see him bounce back that way. Is because he's had it. He's had a rough go of it. I mean, even the win against Vandy, you still had people, and I thought he played pretty well in that game too. Better than pretty well. I mean, he played really good in that game, but he had those 2 interceptions, and people were beating his ass up on the line. Another guy, man, Jaden Blue, 8 touches, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Had a long of 45 on the ground, a long of 45 on a catch. Good to see Jaden Blue kind of bouncing back, man. He had a couple fumbles against Mississippi State. Had some games where he didn't even get a carry. I mean, I don't think he got a carry against Georgia. And I don't think he carried the ball all that much against Vanderbilt. But he's kind of steady been in the game as that catching threat, that receiving threat out of the backfield. He's had some big plays there. And he is just I feel bad for anybody that's got to tackle that guy in open space. Nash Talks Texas does a lot of videos and he does the oh, what do you call it? The every play thing for every game. It's just all the plays condensed down so it happens real fast, but you get to see every play. He did a video last week of no, actually, it must have been this weekend of all of Jaden Blue's sort of open field making people miss plays. Pretty freaking sick, man. How I like you just can't tackle that guy. One dude is not tackling unless they just guess right. But he is quick. So good to see him playing well again. Let's check a little tape. Let's watch this offense. I'm going to start off talking about a couple of plays where early on, this is the first drive of the game, and early on, Texas gets right down the field. They get into the red zone, and they, at first I was like, okay, here we go. You just watch the game at the game, and you're like, man, here we go. They're playing like shit. But this first one I'm going to show you, 2nd and 3, down in the red zone. It's the play where Trey Wisner ends up losing several yards. That was almost a touchdown. So let's show you, folks. So you'll see as we pan in, they got the numbers they want. They bring the zoom motion. You get your counter action, the backside guard pulls. Here comes, I believe that's Juan Davis following the backside guard. So you start to see we're washing everything down. But watch number 24. He's playing defensive end. He's on the backside. So they run some kind of stunt where he just backs up off the line, loops around into the middle, and kind of blows this whole thing up by himself. They didn't get him blocked. Typically, it'd be very, very hard with all of the down blocking that's going on from the right to the left on a play like this for that guy to get through the muck. But somehow he did. Watch what you'll see him pop up right in the middle of the screen, causes Wisner to have to bounce it a little bit, and then I want you to look on the right side of the line. You got big Gunner Helm, you got Cam Williams right there blocking down the outside. Uh, you're gonna see a kick out block here, and then you're gonna see Juan Davis follow up into this hole. Watch how big this running lane is. If number 24 doesn't get in there and goof it up, and I think maybe this is a touchdown if that doesn't happen. But instead, it turns into a no gain type of play that actually turns into a big loss. Let's roll it. Right there, there's 24. You see Trey Wisner see him right in his face. He has to bounce out, but look at all the hats on hats. Look at all the orange jerseys. If that guy is not there, I think Wisner just follows Juan Davis on up through that hole, and he's going to get to that defensive back that's standing back there about the 10-yard line. And I think Wisner's walking in the end zone on this play. If number 24 doesn't make this play, get in the way, turn him back, and of course it turns into a big loss. That is no good. But I think the point I'm trying to make here, they had the numbers they wanted, and it wasn't even a mistake at the point of attack that completely blew that play up and cost them a touchdown. And it wasn't like they didn't have it pretty well blocked. They just missed one guy. And it looked like it was number 52. Can't think of his name right now for some reason. Campbell. Campbell just didn't come flat enough and hit that guy. So what happens? Play number 2. This is right after that running play. You're going to watch Campbell, and this is the pass play. This is the only sack of the game. So, again, I thought the Texas offensive line did a really good job in pass pro the rest of the game. And this wasn't terrible. Campbell and Williams just didn't execute the switch very well. Campbell gets beat to the inside. You'll see it right here. All kinds of movement. And actually, there's all this movement and this sort of guys up at the front of the line of scrimmage. If you look at where they're lined up, you got 3 guys on the right side. You got 2 guys up on the line on the left side for the Florida defense. And then you got this linebacker that's playing back a little bit. And to me, I don't know how they called this. You can see one of the offensive linemen point to the right and say something, which is they're sliding their protection to the right. And you're going to see Wisner go to the left to try to pick up that blitzing backer. But watch what happens on the right side of the screen with Williams and Campbell in the switch that the Florida Gators do. Ducks inside. Quinn doesn't see it. Big sack. I counted it. That was 3 seconds. Quinn had 3 seconds from the time the ball was snapped to the time he gets hit. That's way too fast. Got to give him more time than that. Play number 3, and this is one I think a lot of you have probably seen. Texas is in 21 personnel, which means they have 2 backs, 1 tight end. I say 2 backs. Niblett's in the game. He's a wide receiver. He moved to running back. I'm going to call him a running back and say we're in 21. You're going to see Niblett come across the formation, then return and sort of orbit around in behind. And I don't know that's just what I call it. I don't know what all these motions are called, but he almost goes on like this zoom motion. Then he returns and he comes behind Quinn Ewers, behind Trey Wisner. And then you're going to see the counter action. And I'll pause this so you can see it. He goes in motion. He comes back across the formation, snap right there. He's going behind. You see Wisner take a step to the right. He's coming back on the counter action. You see Big Campbell. He's moving to the left side. And then watch Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm's going to make it look like he's following Big Campbell to just carry out that counter play. So he comes down a little bit, stops, pivots around. So look at those 2 guys at the edge of Florida's formation. You got Golden that's trying to pin that guy in right there at the top of the screen. All this movement's just going to make them stand there. Like they have no idea what's happening. There's your fake to Wisner. Here you got Bond coming around. You got Niblett running out into the flat to lead block on this thing. Gunnar Helm gets a piece of somebody. Bond gets the little pitch. And look at all those bodies. 3 bodies on 2 out there on the outside. Niblett gets a great kick out block. Williams kind of fans on his a little bit. Gunnar Helm gets enough, and bam, Isaiah Bond down the field for a nice big gain. That play, when that play happened at the game, I was like, what in the fuck just happened? I have never seen anything like that in my life. That's a really good sort of, and I don't know, I've never seen us run that play. I've seen us run reverses. I've never seen us have that much motion in the backfield, fake a counter play, then the backside blocker on the counter play pivots out and becomes the lead blocker on the play. I've never seen that before. So I don't know if they saw something against Florida that made them think they could pull that off. Sark says they ran it in practice and it worked pretty good, so they threw it in the game plan. I have no idea. Worked really well. And we talked about all the eye candy that Florida does offensively that confuses linebackers. Holy crap. That was a mess. So play number 4, we're going to show you. We're in 21 personnel again. We're going to see Trey Wisner, and this time you got Trey Wisner and Jaden Blue in the game. We're going to see Blue. They're both going to come in, be split back. Here comes Wisner. Let's get it going. So Wisner comes back into the backfield, lines up as a split back, and we're going to see Jaden Blue go in this orbit motion, I call it, to the outside. That's what I call orbit. And he basically just runs to the sideline. At the snap, Wisner follows him out in the flat, fakes like he's catching a little screen pass. Here we go. We'll put this in motion. There goes Blue. There goes Wisner. Watch him throw his hands up like he's going to get the screen pass. And I watch number 13. Let me back this up just a tiny bit if I can. Yeah. Watch number 13 right out here on the hash. You see him on the left side of the screen all the way on the hash? Watch this guy get caught up with the eye candy. There goes Blue. There goes Wisner behind him. So look at him. He is firing towards Jaden Blue. And just to the inside of him, you got Golden, and I believe it's Ryan Wingo is the outside wide receiver. They just want to run a little switch go type pattern. And both the DBs run with Wingo. Number 13, I don't know what his responsibility is. I'm assuming flat because he's firing towards – he's right there by Golden right now. And as I let this play out, you're going to see him just continue to fire towards Jaden Blue. And Golden's going to end up wide open for a touchdown. Nice ball. Easy pitch and catch. Touchdown. That's the kind of stuff that I think Texas fans have been waiting to see for the last few weeks. Just guys wide open, just these plays. We've been hearing about Sark and how, you know, so creative and innovative. One of the best offensive minds in college football. And we haven't seen it. We saw it on Saturday. Defensively, let's check tape. I wanted to put this in here because this is basically an Alfred Collins and a Trey Moore show, but I think this is important because I want to show you guys how like just doing the right thing and doing it consistently can help the team. So you got this play right here. This is early on in the first half, first quarter. You got Trey Moore on the corner. He gets engaged with number 8 right there, and then he's going to take an inside rush. So he's going to rush the passer. He goes, quarterback turns, fires off to the left flat. Trey Moore is already on his pass rush. Stops, turns around, goes and makes a catch on a really athletic tight end. That's like one of those hybrid tight end type guys. Probably, he's like an Amari Niblack type guy. He's not big enough to be a big time blocker, but he's really handsy, can catch the ball, can get open, creates a lot of mismatches. That guy's an athlete. Trey Moore ran him down. That was an absolutely great play by Trey Moore. But if Trey Moore could have just as easily said, I'm going to rush the passer. I want to go get sacks. By the way, Trey Moore doesn't have a sack this season. Stops, recognizes the play, and runs down a guy that's a hell of an athlete. That is like the hustle type of stuff that makes what could be a really good defense turn into like a great defense. When guys are playing like that, that's how you become a great defense. If he doesn't go out there and make that play, that's a huge game. Because they're in man coverage everywhere else and down the field. Play number 2, I want you to watch Big Alfred Collins. This is a 3rd and 15 play. This is actually the first turnover of the game for Texas. But watch where Alfred Collins ends up lined up and what he has to do to get to where the ball goes. The ball's going to go to the right. That was Alfred Collins that just shifted over to that one technique on the opposite side of the football from where the ball is going. Watch him fight across this block, get it on the tackle. And man, they're giving this forced fumble to Ant Hill. I want to give this to Alfred Collins just for getting across the face of the offensive lineman. This is one of the hardest things for defensive linemen to do. It's harder to do that. It takes more effort. Sometimes you're going to get beat. It takes more energy. It's really easy just to push them to the side and try to run up underneath them. But if he does that, he doesn't get in on this play, and he doesn't get the Sean Horn Takes podcast fumble call. Watch him fight across. Boom. Guard reach blocked him. He recognized it immediately. Gets his head across, fights across, gets in on the tackle. There's a fumble. I'm giving it to him. Big Trey Moore picks it up. And by the way, folks, we got to talk about this. Big Trey Moore picks it up, turns it for a nice gain. But let's see this. They called a block in the back on this play. Right there. The quarterback just stopped. Jelani McDonald has both his hands up and just runs over him. And then watch the guy throw a flag. He still hasn't thrown a flag. The guy at the 4-yard line on the sideline there, that whatever he is, side judge, field judge, he still hasn't thrown a flag yet. There goes the flag. I mean, we always bust on officiating, and I don't think you cannot bust on that. That was terrible. It was a terrible call, and it was super late. Like kind of like odd. But kudos to big Alfred Collins. By the way, he does this the whole game. This is like what he is starting to just do over and over again. Here we go again. We'll show another play. Watch Alfred Collins. He's lined up in that 3 technique on the offense's right side. Watch him take on a double team, fight off the reach block, block, fights off the reach block, and makes a stop for maybe no gain, definitely a short gain. Check it out. Boom. He's double teamed right now. 75, I believe, 68. The center and the right guard, both on Big Alfred Collins. Now, when that guard, right now, this is just a combo block. He's going to get off that combo block, try to get up to the linebacker. But Alfred Collins just never stops fighting against that pressure he's getting from the guard. And so when that guard leaves, he's got the leverage on the center. That center has not reach blocked him yet, hasn't got the reach completed. He's just going to come off and make a really nice tackle. That that is big time right there. That's Alfred Collins making money, folks. And we're starting to see him do that much more consistently, much more consistently. Let me show you another Alfred Collins play. Folks, I've been talking about Alfred Collins for like 3 seasons now, just praying for this guy to wake up. And he has finally woke up. So I am excited. I'm excited for him. I mean, this was a guy that he was a 5-star, I believe. 6'5", like 315-pound guy that does not look like, you know, he looked like Byron Murphy at a high school, except bigger. And I think he's put on some weight, but he still really looks good for his size. 6'5", I think he's 325 pounds. Not carrying a lot of extra weight. So I love watching this big man play because he has NFL talent like coursing throughout his veins. Watch this play. He's lined up as a 4-tech right there, right on the inside shade of number 65, the right tackle for Florida. Watch all this mess he fights through to keep outside contain on this play and force an incompletion. Right there, 81 comes down on him. He's going to hit him and shed him. Then 65 comes and gets back on him. He's going to shed that. Watch 77's coming around on like that little boot action stuff they like to do. He's going to get in the way. Collins just keeps scraping, fights past him, gets out and applies enough pressure to force an incompletion. So like if you hadn't known anything about football, all you would have saw is like Alfred Collins was standing there at the end. But what you didn't see probably, and you wouldn't have saw at the game, unless you were just happened to be watching him on that exact play. That was a lot of effort that one guy made that's not going to show up anywhere in a stat sheet. But it made a huge difference in that play. If he gets caught up in all that in the middle, the quarterback can just roll out and run. Might pick up a first down. So this Texas defense really doing an outstanding job this year of doing the little things, doing them correctly. And that's why this Texas defense is one of the best in the country. Some quick final thoughts on the Florida game. Offensively, I think this Texas offense could have scored 70 points easily. Florida just could not stop them. It didn't matter what they were doing. They couldn't stop it. Really good to see the offensive line step up and protect Quinn Ewers. And I think, again, we talked all week about this Florida defense being pretty athletic, having a pretty good pass rush. And Texas did a damn good job against them. One of the best sacking teams in the country. Good to see Jarek Gibson get some significant carries. He goes over 100 for the first time in his Texas Longhorn career. And those were his first carries since the Oklahoma game. I would really like to see him in some 2-back sets with either Trey Wisner or Jaden Blue, because then I think you got, I don't know how much of a pass catcher Jarek Gibson is. We haven't seen it yet, at least in a consistent capacity. Usually when he's in there and he's going to touch the ball, he's running the ball. I think you get him in the backfield with Wisner or Blue at the same time. You still have that threat to get the ball to the running back in the pass game, but you also get just a little different look with Jarrett Gibson. He's a little bit bigger, he's a little bit more physical, and I think he still has some really good lateral quickness and some decent speed. So I love the two-back stuff. I would just like to see it in a place where we can truly get some balance out of it, because I think right now Jarrett Gibson is your best option, just solely talking about the running game. I think he's going to give you the most consistent running game. Wisner, Blue, huge big play ability. I mean, they're the type of dudes that'll go for 100 yards and on 10 carries, and like 8 of those carries get a yard or nothing. That's how those guys are. I think Jarrett Gibson's more of your, man, I'm going to get you 3-4 yards every single time. And by the way, I'm going to crack some open every once in a while as well. Defensively, they played really well in the first half. They got a little leaky in the run game. We knew that was probably going to happen. You had 2 Gator backs, almost 2 go for 100. You did have 1 go for 100. The other one was in the 90s. Not super concerned about that, because Texas started playing backups along the defensive line in like the second quarter. And I'm not talking about like your rotation backups. I'm not talking about the dude that doesn't start but plays 50% of the snaps every week. I'm talking about guys that we haven't seen much this season. Aaron Bryant, Sadir Mitchell, Alex January got a lot of playing time at defensive tackle, and he hasn't done that in a while. Played a little bit earlier this season. Anthony Smith was playing linebacker in the second quarter. A true freshman. So Texas played a lot of guys, and as the second quarter got late, they started playing a lot of guys that haven't played a lot, and those guys played a whole lot in the second half. So, and then Florida dedicated themselves to it. As I said, they those running backs carried the ball 38 times. They had 20 carries in the second half. 3 more turnovers for the defense. Outstanding. They won the turnover battle. Love it. Secondary is just incredible. And maybe I'm just saying that because I'm so used to watching bad secondaries, but they have been outstanding this year. They're where they're supposed to be. They make plays when the ball gets there. Pass rush really wasn't there. 1 sack by Jelani McDonald, I believe. Probably, I think, because Florida kind of kept mixing it up. Texas never really knew exactly what Florida was going to be doing. Florida didn't get themselves in a whole lot of, hey, we know for sure this is a pass play. Texas really needed a big win on Saturday. It's been, you had that big Georgia loss. You had a game against Vandy where, Vandy almost comes back to tie that game late. So Texas really needed a blowout type win. They got it on Saturday. It's really good to be 8-1, good to be 4-1 in the SEC. And Texas now controls their own destiny in the SEC. Went out, you're in the SEC championship game, probably in the playoff. Just a matter of seeding at that point. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday. We'll do the deep dive on this Arkansas offense. We're going to check tapes on this Arkansas offense as well. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe. Give us a follow. Won't cost you guys anything, but we sure appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. Big win on Saturday. We'll be getting ready for another big win this Saturday in Fayette against those Arkansas Razorbacks. You guys have a good rest of your Monday. Again, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. You guys get hooked.